Webinars and/or videos are one of the best ways to train staff. If you'd like us to adapt this webinar or any other manuals for your organization using one of our templates, contact us today. The health and safety policy has about 25 different areas from training, safety representative, management responsibilities, first aid, fire, food hygiene, computer installations, and visual display units, people work on a company premises not employed by the company, and contractors. The company fully accepts the obligations placed upon it by the various acts covering health and safety. The company recognizes and accepts its responsibilities as an employer to maintain, so far as reasonably practical, the safety and health of its employees and all their persons who may be affected by its activities. The policy has been prepared and published on the requirements of the health and safety at work legislation. The purpose of the policy is to establish general standards for health and safety at work and distribute responsibility. Management responsibilities. Chief Executive Officer has the overall responsibility for the implementation of the company's policy. Directors and senior managers are wholly accountable to the Chief Executive. The Safety Officer is nominated manager responsible for coordinating effective health and safety policies and controls across the organization. The Safety Officer is responsible for the production and maintenance of the company's policy, its application, monitoring, the provisional general advice, the identification of health and safety training needs, the production and maintenance of health and safety codes and practices. The company believes that consideration of the health, safety, and welfare of its staff is an integral part of the management process. The company requires managers to approach health and safety in a systematic way by identifying hazards and problems, planning improvements, and taking executive action and monitoring results. For major additional expenditure, cases of need will be submitted by directors to the Chief Executive. If unpredictable health and safety issues arise during the year, the Chief Executive must assess the degree of risk in deciding the necessary resources and actions to commit to addressing these issues. It is a policy of the company to require a departmental manager to produce appropriate health and safety policies or guidelines. These should be the minimum standards of the health and safety for the department. Include a clear statement of the department, regulations governing the work of the department, a clear reference to safe methods, information about immediate matters, training standards, the role and identity of the health and safety representative, names of specialist advisors, the manager responsible for the organization and control of work, accident reporting, departmental safety rules, fire procedures, and policies agreed upon by the company. It is the policy of the company to require a thorough examination of health and safety performance against established standards. The audit requires review of standards laid down in the policy, departmental guidelines, relevant regulations, environmental factors, staff attitudes, staff instructions, methods of work, contingency plans, and recording and the provision of information about accidents and hazards and the risks assessed. The information obtained by the audit will be used to form the basis of the plan for the next year. The responsibility for ensuring the audit activity is carried out as a part of this policy rests with the Chief Executive. It is the management's responsibility to ensure any deficiencies highlighted in the audit are dealt with as speedily as possible. In addition to carrying out safety audits, it is the responsibility of the department manager to check at least quarterly all portable equipment, including electrical appliances, in their area. Managers have a continuing responsibility for the elimination of hazards in order to maintain a safe working environment, and will also be expected to carry out regular risk assessments. Guidelines have following 5 steps: identify the hazards, decide who might be harmed and how, evaluate the risk and decide on precautions, record the findings and implement the precautions, review the assessment and update when necessary. The company will support safety representatives in carrying out their role and give all reasonable assistance. Safety representatives will be encouraged to discuss specific health and safety issues with relevant head of departments. Health and safety training shall be incorporated within annual training programs. The 4 areas that need shall be given special priority are training for managers to equip them with the understanding of the manager's responsibilities under this policy, training for safety representatives, training for all members of staff, induction and in-service training for staff at levels to acquaint them fully with new requirements and hazards. The company will operate systems for recording, analysis, and presentation of information about accidents, hazard situations, and untoward occurrences. The responsible for meeting the requirements shall rest with the Chief Executive Officer as delegated to the Safety Officer. Certain bodies and the individual members of those bodies have always had a health and safety role, most notably the Health and Safety Executive or local environment health departments. It is a policy of the company to provide occupational health services. Such services are provided confidentially to the individual employee and include counseling on health and associated matters, investigation of hazards and accidents, environmental studies, health interviews, and employment. It is a policy that can make provision for first aid and the training of first aiders. The Chief Executive is responsible and delegates these responsibilities to the directors. The company will nominate a fire officer, report and advise on the standard fire safety in the company's premises and the standard of fire training of its staff, undertake overall responsibility for fire training, assist in the investigation of all fires in the company's premises. Procedure for the condemnation and disposal of equipment are set out in the company's standard financial instructions. Managers introducing a new equipment should have new equipment checked by the safety officer. Those managers who have responsibility for food acquisition, storage, processing, and serving, and staff induction and training are responsible for ensuring that these functions are undertaken to the necessary legal standards. Any suspected outbreak of food poisoning or any other explaining possible food-related incidents must be reported to the safety officer. Manager responsible for informing staff of safe lifting techniques. The company has agreed that there will be no smoking in its buildings. The control of substance hazardous to health regulations require the company to identify those substances which are in use and which are hazardous to health. All new computer installations must adhere to government standards. The company is committed to the principles of working time regulations. No member of staff is expected to work more than 48 hours per week, unless there are exceptional circumstances. Each employee is to take reasonable care for the health and safety of himself and of other persons who may be affected by their acts and omissions, and cooperate with management to enable management to carry out their responsibilities. The refusal of any employee to meet these obligations will be regarded as a matter to be dealt with under disciplinary procedures. Persons working in the company premises who are employed by other organizations are expected to follow the company health and safety policies with regard to the safety of the company employees. The company wishes to ensure that as far as it is reasonably practical, the health and safety and welfare of visitors to the company established will be the highest standard. Any member of staff who notices persons acting in a way which endanger other staff should normally inform their head of the department. Health, safety, and welfare of contractors working in the company's establishments will be of the highest standards. The contractors and their employees have an obligation, so far as reasonable, practicable, to ensure all equipment, materials, and premises under control are safe and without risk to health. Contractors must also observe the company's fire safety procedures. In tendering contracts, they will be asked to confirm they have a written health and safety welfare policy.